Final Fantasy VII. Beloved by so many, entails nostalgia and hosts a generation-defining group of JRPG players. This game was massive back in the 90s, and of course, after the remake games in the modern day. The titular 1997 JRPG has 14.4 million sales as of September 2023. It's iconic.
Cloud, Sephiroth, the Buster Sword, whoever you are, chances are you probably heard of it. But there's one question we have. Does it still hold up?
Today myself, JustMasked, and my co-host Ams are here to discuss this in our shallow dive. So grab your snacks, grab your popcorn, grab your Buster Sword, like this video if you enjoy it, but without further ado, here's...
Turn-based combat might seem old school, but it's like chess with explosions. There's something satisfying about meticulously planning your moves, summoning colossal beasts to do your bidding, and unleashing limit breaks that feel like they can break your TV screen. And let's not forget the material system, which allows you to customize a character's abilities in ways that make every playthrough a new adventure.
Adding on to this, turn-based combat was something that I wasn't particularly familiar with when I started off playing Final Fantasy VII. You see, my only experience of turn-based combat was from Pokemon, which is a very different system to what Final Fantasy VII has to offer. Not only does Final Fantasy VII have so much more customization, it also introduces a hell of a lot more complexity in terms of combat structure, who attacks first, the cinematics. There's a lot to unpack here.
Remember the good old days when you had to wait your turn to kick some monster's ass? Final Fantasy VII takes that concept and makes it into a true work of art. You choose your attacks, sit back and watch as Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, the gang, whatever you want to call it, unleash like a barrage of moves. Now, if we want to talk about like the concept of limit breaks, when your character takes enough damage, they get angry. And when they get angry, they do insane things like summon meteors and unleash dragon punches or just straight up go berserk. It's like when you're playing Monopoly and someone finally lands on your hotel-laden boardwalk. Sweet vengeance.
Carrying on from this, turn-based combat has not been as prevalent in the modern day, and it's pretty clear to see why. Most gamers want something that they're actively participating in. You know, your usual action games, you know, your God of War, even the new Final Fantasy 16. There's a lot more active participation by the gamer. However, there have been some games that have done it right recently, such as the Persona series. However, the pure 90s gameplay experience of turn-based combat is something that can never be replicated. Something as fresh and brand new, well, for the time, will never be replicated ever again. Purely based on just the thrill of taking your time to plan your attacks, to execute them.
Masked, man, let's not forget to talk about the world map. Honestly, like, it's a vast, sprawling landscape filled with just secret side quests and the most random encounters that pop up more often than ads on a sketchy website. You can traverse it on foot, on chocobo, or in various vehicles you acquire throughout your journey. It's like a world that begs to be explored. Honestly, like, full of hidden caves, secret bosses, treasures that make every single random battle worth it, don't you think?
That is very true, and this is one of the first games of its kind to do that. You see, Final Fantasy VII is mostly regarded for its iconic characters, its epic battle themes. The sheer amount of time that I spent just looking through everything the game has to offer, this is truly a one-of-a-kind experience.
I mean, tired of saving the world? Psh, take a break and race chocobos, I guess. I mean, snowball down a mountain, play bizarre motorcycle chase games. The Gold Saucer, the in-game amusement park, is basically the Las Vegas of Final Fantasy. If you think about it, you can spend hours here doing everything but advancing the plot. It's like the developers said, like, why just save the planet when you can gamble your life savings away on a game of Moghouse?
It's just the fact that you can just take your time and, like I said before, explore every aspect of the game. And the mini-game, while some of them were a bit jarring at times, which, I mean, you can't love everything about the game, a lot of them, you know, they were pretty decent. You know, Fort Condor, I think, was a very interesting minigame, taking that turn-based strategic element of the combat system and turning it into a more of a chess-like game is something that's really entrancing to me. Progression is another part of the game that I really did enjoy as well. The materia part of the game is something that contributes hugely to progression. You see, throughout the game you'll find yourself picking up these little gems and orbs, and they'll be referred to as materia. These materia will allow you to use special elemental abilities, perhaps extra abilities that may not appear in your character's default arsenal, and they can be particularly useful in parts of the game.
I mean, like, imagine if your magic spells and abilities were colorful little orbs you find around the world. They can plug into your gear like Christmas lights. That's the material system for you, literally. You can mix and match to create the ultimate combinations. Fire, ice, lightning, summoning giant beasts. There's a material for that. It's like collecting Pokemon, but instead of cute creatures, you just get godlike powers. Plus, it adds a whole new level of strategy. Do you load up on healing spells or do you go all out attack? Decisions, man. Decisions. Now, let's begin to talk about summons. Speaking of giant beasts, the summons in Final Fantasy VII are indeed a spectacle unto themselves. Each one comes with its own mini cinematic that plays every single time you call them into battle. By the 10th time Bahamut drops a mega flare on your foes, you'll be both impressed and mildly concerned about your console's longevity. It's like having Michael Bay direct every single one of your movies or your battles.
And not to mention the variety of summons you can get. But with that being said, the combat system in this game is an absolute gem for its time.
Now, let's talk about the story. The story, one of a kind, it really is. Final Fantasy VII, they really know how to do it. The plot is literally like Shakespeare on Chocobos. Like, it's got twists, turns and more emotional roller coasters than a soap opera marathon. You'll face off against an evil corporation, Shinra, that's sucking the life out of the planet literally for profit, for money. You'll uncover ancient secrets, chase down a silver-haired psycho with a sword the length of a small boat, and wrestle with the complexities of identity, sacrifice and heroism. It's like if Game of Thrones had a baby with Star Wars and that baby was raised by anime. Let's have a chat about the characters. Like, where do I even begin? Like, Cloud Strife with his oversized Buster Sword and chronic existential crisis could give any modern anti-hero a run for their money. He's literally like the cool kid at school who has no idea he's cool. And then there's Tifa, the martial artist barkeep who can probably bench press Cloud. Barrett, gun-armed eco-warrior that looks like Mr. T, brings the gruff but lovable dad energy. Aerith, your flower-selling girl next door, except she's probably secretly packing methamphetamine or some bullshit like that. Oh, and we can't forget about Sephiroth, who literally redefined bad hair day with his single-winged angel aesthetic and his mommy issues cranked up to 11. This Motley Crue's banter and drama is most definitely more entertaining than probably one of your favorite TV shows' best episodes, honestly, because some of the things they go through, some of the things that happens, everything is just filled with drama, action, comedy, banter, everything that a normal friendship group would have.
But without further ado, let's move on to
music. Nobuo Uematsu, you absolutely magnificent composer, honestly. The soundtrack to Final Fantasy VII is nothing short of legendary. From the moment the opening theme hits, you're hooked just like that. One Winged Angel is just epic. It literally makes you want to fight a 7-foot-tall villain with questionable sanity issues. The music literally sets the mood perfectly everywhere you go in the world. Whether you're strolling through Midgar slums, getting lost in the gold saucer, or shedding a tear in one of the game's more emotional moments. If you're not humming these tunes weeks after playing, you might want to check if you still have a soul, honestly.
the dark depths of Midgar, having this almost grungy and this noir sort of feeling. The environments really fit into what they are trying to tell you. Midgar is an absolute depressing, deprived, polluted area with almost no hope, whereas once you get into the open world, which is really green and blue and has brighter colors, it really highlights just the absolute fresh of breath air from Midgar, quite literally, to the gold saucer having this magical and fun themed, expressive piece of art almost. All this culminates into very creative level design, very creative environmental design. Everything about this game and its graphical fidelity is an absolute wonder.
Yes, we are indeed talking about those blocky, polygonal figures that look like Lego people having a rough day. But here's the thing, they have a charm that's impossible to resist. Those lovingly jagged edges are like a warm hug from the past, and once you get into the pre-rendered backgrounds, you realize that these environments are just still gorgeous in their own right. Sure, Cloud's hands look like he's wearing oven mitts, but who needs detailed fingers when you've got a sword bigger than a Hyundai? Also, chocobos. I've mentioned chocobos a few times in this video. Yes, those giant adorable rideable birds. Yes, I'm not a furry. Breeding them, racing them, and ultimately using them to traverse the world map are activities so delightful that they're practically a game within the game. Who knew oversized poultry could be this fun?
So we've discussed everything we can about this game. The gameplay, the story, the aesthetics, the music, and do we think it holds up?
I think we do. This game is just far too iconic, memorable, and although this is up to the individual, we'd say keeping an open mind and taking your time playing the game can turn this into a very enjoyable experience.
But that aside, this has been Just Masked.
And this has been Ams.
Take care, and we'll see you in the world of gaming.
You just try setting me up.
No.
You just try to say.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is really loud though. Okay, go.